Welcome to the Directors Club podcast, your go-to resource for childcare center owners and directors seeking success at their centers. Each week, we dive into the world of childcare management, sharing valuable tips, tools, resources, and strategies to help you build enrollment, retain top teachers, and streamline your operations. With a casual and lighthearted approach, we tackle the challenges you face from staffing and enrollment to business skills and time management. Join us as we unlock the secrets to creating a thriving childcare center. Let's laugh, learn, and grow together. This is the Directors Club podcast. Welcome to the Directors Club podcast, your go-to resource for childcare center owners and directors. Each week we dive into the world of childcare management, sharing valuable tips, tools, and resources to help you build enrollment, retain your top teachers, and streamline your operations. With a casual and lighthearted approach, we unlock the secrets of creating a thriving childcare center. Let's laugh, learn, and grow together. This is the Directors Club podcast. Hey there, it's Noelle from the Directors Club. Thanks for listening in today. I'm going to be talking today about tuition and fees and just some tips on it. I keep getting asked questions on when to talk about it, how to do it. I thought I'd go through a few points that you could take and use some of them and hopefully help you. Tuition is obviously our livelihood, and it's really hard sometimes because you feel guilty telling parents you have to increase it. But on the other side of it, if you don't increase it, then you're not going to be a financially stable center. And that is what is important to families because they need you there. As much as it hurts sometimes, you feel bad, which I get it. We all feel bad because childcare is so expensive. It's expensive to run a childcare center. And so, of course, we have to put that fee on the client. And we just have to get okay with it. I know that there are resources out there for some parents to get like a voucher or help paying it. But end of the day, it's not like you're sitting counting piles of money. Because I know how much it costs to run a childcare center, and it's not cheap. How I kind of plan out my tuition is I look at my budget from last year and I put it into, I use QuickBooks. You can use a spreadsheet, whatever you use. I put my last year's budget into a spreadsheet and I look at it and say, okay, did these expenses going to stay the same this year? And not payroll. I'm talking about all the other expenses. Is anything going up? Is your lease going up? Are your phone's going up? Is the food cost going up? What's going up? And so plan for that. Make an educated guess on all those things. And then what I do is I take last year's payroll and I think about it. Was I short-staffed? Am I going to have 2 teachers that I'm trying to hire right now in there? So add their salaries in there if you don't have it. And add their gross salaries. Makes it easier, which is just their tuition, their hourly rate, times how many hours they're going to work, times 52. Get all those numbers in there, and then think about that number. What's your raise going to be for your teachers? You're going to do like the average around the country has been, actually it was 3%, but I see up to 5% for raise increases. Or if you want to give them more, do you want to give them a bonus? Think about all those numbers and just plop it into your spreadsheet. And then look at your salary. Do you, as the owner or director, are you in that gross payroll? You are. You're all set. Or if you're not and you take a partner payment, what does that number look like? And so look at all that. And then that will be your numbers for the year, your expenses that you're estimating to get to. I always like to add a cushion. And I'm a larger center, so we add about $10,000 extra in case I need something because you never know. And now I have the number I need. And so what I do with that number is I look at that number and then I look at last year's revenue. And I say, was I full? And I was. So that's going to be about how much money I get in this year. And will that cover my expenses that I just projected? And if it doesn't, that's the difference. Let's say I'm projecting my expenses this year to be $2 million. And my revenue last year was $1.8 million. I need to come up with $200,000 to make the difference. And so what you can do, I'm going to get my calculator out while I'm talking because I tried to do even, and I can't think in my head. So I'm going to take 200,000 divided by 52 weeks. So I need to come up with an additional $3,846 divided by the number of students you have. I have 134, which is I need to increase tuition that every week by $28, and that will get me there. Now, you might look at that and say, oh, 28 is too much. I can't ask a family for 28. Totally get that. I just did that off the top of my head. That's obviously not realistic numbers, but 28, then you say, then that's the number. So you got to figure out how you're going to increase the 2-day rate, the 3-day rate, the 5-day rate, however you're going to do it. Figure that out. You can also go back to the expenses and say, okay, do we need to spend this? Can I cut this out? Can I reduce this? Go through that. And it's a playing game. You're going to sit there and play with your numbers. And could you add a fee to make up for part of that? Could you charge for something else? Could you come up with another revenue source? Like one thing you may be able to come up with is a lunch program. Could you work it out with a local Subway that they provide lunches, or a caterer or a restaurant? And that way you could make a little bit of money off of that. Think of things that you could do to add more revenue, what your increase is going to be, what your numbers are, and there is your number that you need to increase. Now, you can go through all the market analysis and check in with other centers and see what they are going to charge and see if you're competitive. But end of the day, you got to cover your bills. And you don't want to be charging $400 when everyone else is charging $200 a week. You got to really look at that, but pay attention to those. I don't always feel like you need to be exactly where your competitors are. Or if you're super low, maybe you need to do a tiered rate system. And in my opinion, what that would be, you maybe set the rates for today, like whatever your rates are, increase them a little, and then do another tier for anyone joining after June 1st, whatever the date is. These are the rates. And then you have 2 different rate systems going so that you could go higher. If you're super low from everybody and you want to do that, it's a good way to just have different rates until they grandfathered the other people into the lower rate. You check with your voucher system, though, if you're on vouchers, to make sure that you can do that. All right. Once we have the rates done, I always get asked, what do I put in the letter? We write a letter to the parents advising them that we're going to be increasing the tuition rates. And they're not going to be happy. No one's ever happy when you say, oh, you need to pay more. And so I think I'd just write a letter and say that we're evaluating our budget and an increase to tuition is necessary to remain our high quality childcare center that we are. We continue to offer A, B, and C. What are 3 things that set you apart from all the other centers in town? And why do people want to choose you over them? I like to give them, to me, in my handbook, it says we'll give you a 2-week notice. I like to give people a month. I feel a month in advance that you're giving them time to figure out how they're going to pay for it, reallocate their own funds. I like to give a month if you can, and then send it out. Somebody just said the other day to me, I'm scared to raise rates. People might leave. You're right. People might leave. And you know what? That's what happens. And so that's why you're always working on your wait list. Make sure that you continue to work on building up your wait list and the word about you in the community, and people are talking about you and that they want to come to your center. When your new families are feeling consistent and satisfied with the service, they're spreading the word out. There is going to be that tug of war. We're afraid to do it this way. We're afraid this is going to happen. It's okay. Things do change. People do leave. Money does affect a lot of things in your business and in our personal budgets for our families. And it's okay. The last thing someone asked me about was like, how often do you increase rates? Typically, you see that annually, but have seen it in less than a year. Some massive change has come into the business. I think it's important to look at it yearly. My sister and I were just actually talking about we have a lunch program, and even with tuition, there'd been a time during the COVID period where we were literally just about to increase rates and obviously stopped it. In that March, that COVID came, and we didn't raise them again until recently. And it was a 3-year difference. And we were able to do an okay increase, but our lunch program's $4, and it's been like this for a long time. And I said to her, we should have been increasing it like by little bits versus the whole 6. Because I'm always feeling like if I can fit this in my budget, keep the expense low for as long as I possibly can. That's like our goal, is to try and keep the tuition as low as we can. Really think about increasing your rates, even if you just do a tiny bit, so that it isn't like all of a sudden you have to do $10 or $50 a week or something. Again, let's look at it. What we just talked about. We talked about looking at your budget from last year and pre-planning the future, the next 12 months with your educated guesses. Look at your salaries. What percentage you want to increase them by and add that into your budget. What about your salary? What is that going up? Put that in there. Do you need any room for adjustments or emergencies? Put that in there. And that's your number. What was your revenue from last year? Were you really think through revenue if you had a room closed or you're at capacity? That number is going to change, right? Or stay the same. And that will help you figure out what your rate should be. Again, looking at market analysis can help you, give you a guideline of where other people are at. Next up, you're communicating to families. And I don't think you need to overthink it. Use Chat AI. That might help you to write a really simple letter. Just keep using the same one every year. And then give them about a month if you can. 2 weeks, I think, is adequate. Make sure you have that in your parent handbook, that you have the right at any time to change your rates, and do it. It is fearful. We're always fearful of money and hate talking about it, but I think it's a really important topic, and it's okay. We will find a new customer if someone leaves because of the money, or they'll just stay because they love being at your childcare center. I hope today helped you with some tips on tuition and fees. And also want you to think about, if you have a minute, head into the show notes and rate in the podcast. I'd love to see how you think we're doing. And if you need any help or support, head over to our website at thedirectorsclub.net. Bye, everybody. Thank you for joining us on today's episode of The Directors Club. We hope you found tips, tools, and strategies valuable for your childcare center. To access even more resources and take your center to new heights, visit our website at thedirectorsclub.net. There you'll find a wealth of exclusive content, training programs, and support tailored specifically to childcare center owners and directors. Don't miss out on this opportunity to unlock your center's full potential. Remember, success starts here at the Directors Club.